I may as well not have been there. I was just so timid and just so like lacking self-esteem, lacking confidence, because my sexual abuse started at a real young age. I was just 3, and as soon as we're born up until the ages of 3, our brain needs to develop, to obviously be stable and to obviously be secure. But by the age of 3, I didn't have that. I'd lost that. So it really affected my brain development as I was getting older.
Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to Soul Awakenings with Madiha Sosan podcast. Today we have Anu Verma. Anu is an ambitious author who is on a life mission to use her skills and life experiences to help others to improve their lives. She loves to work with children who she sees as future and wants to work with the vulnerable who are suffering and have suffered from abuse. It was her experiences of childhood abuse that shaped her as a person, first threatening to destroy her and then revealing a path to freedom and happiness that she thought she would never find. Anu explores this path in a book, hoping that it will also help others to find themselves the way she did, through travel, self-help, and a determination to cast off her damaging past. Let's bring her on. Hi Anu, how are you doing?
Hi, Madiha. So lovely to see you again.
Yeah,
Lovely
you too.
smile.
Oh, thank you. Yours too. I love your glasses. Wish I could have mine on.
I just thought I needed to look intelligent today.
Yeah. You done well. You done well. Um, yeah, so I met you through our good friend Rihanna, and
Yeah.
I actually met Rihanna at one of the business events, and it's just funny how everything just connects. I was looking for someone to interview, to get my podcast, obviously, and she was like, "Oh, my friend here, she's like, she's been through so much, and you need to interview her." I was like, "All right, cool." So
Oh,
we
bless
finally made it
her.
happen, right?
Yeah. Oh, she's been an absolute godsend, because we met at university many couple of decades ago,
Mm,
and it was her that inspired me to travel, and
mm,
she's inspired me to create my online course, and
yeah.
she's just such an amazing mentor in my life.
Yeah,
I'm really
she is
grateful to have
incredible.
her.
Yeah,
Mm,
she has a beautiful light.
so yeah.
So before we start, tell us a bit about yourself, a brief overview for our listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, hi, everybody. My name's Anu, and I am a survivor, and I'm an author, and I'm also a mom to my little boy Noah. What else? I'm also a professional and blah blah blah. But I think the reason why I'm here today is to obviously talk about my experience of sexual abuse from a young age and how I overcome the adversities to be the woman that I am today.
Yeah, brilliant. Before we get into talking about your abuse and everything, what were you like as a child? Were you sensitive? Were you resilient? Were you a rebel?
Oh, I may as well not have been there. I was just so timid and just so like lacking self-esteem, lacking confidence, because my sexual abuse started at a real young age. I was just 3, and as soon as we're born up until the ages of 3, our brain needs to develop, to obviously be stable and to obviously be secure. But by the age of 3, I didn't have that. I'd lost
Mm,
that. So
mm,
it really affected my brain development as I was getting older. And so I was lacking a lot.
Where are you originally from? Were you born in the UK or
Yeah. Yeah. I was
you were
born,
born?
yeah, in
Yeah.
Coventry. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So your parents are from where?
So they're from Punjab, and they kind of moved here in their late teens, and they got married,
Mhm.
and they came here with nothing. So
Mm,
they've developed everything from scratch. I guess
mm,
like a lot of our parents who came here in the 60s, 70s.
yeah.
So they built everything from scratch, and obviously it was a massive learning curve for them to go from the Indian culture into the Western culture. They suffered a lot of racial abuse as well, being here, and so that they went through a lot themselves. And so yes, yeah.
What made them sort of move to the UK? Was it financial, or was it business, or work here?
Yeah, absolutely. Just a better quality of life, because there was a kind of a time where obviously with the British, that they obviously were living in India with all the 1942 stuff that happened, and then there was this big program where Britain were allowing a lot of Indian workers to come to obviously work in all of the factories, because there was a big industrial boom around the UK. So many Indians came, and that's why you see a lot of Asians within the UK today.
Amazing.
Yeah,
And I love like how we can travel all over the world to create a better life, right? It was the same
yeah.
case with my family. We didn't have much in Pakistan, and I was born in Pakistan, so my dad moved here, and then we joined my dad, but we still struggle quite a lot. It's hard to adjust to
Yeah,
new life, new way.
it
Um,
is. Yeah, they did well,
yeah,
definitely. Yeah, and you
yeah.
you did well too.
Yeah. Yes. This is only the beginning.
Yeah. Watch this space.
Yes, watch this face. Yeah, so now let's get into the serious topic. Let's talk about your abuse that you experienced at the age of 3. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. So it was like my parents' second home that they moved into, and there was 3 bedrooms, so they decided to rent one out just to obviously have some extra income coming in, which is fair enough. Because a lot of us do that in this day and age. But little did they know that this man that came in was a paedophile and an absolute just a sexual predator. And yeah, he literally just took advantage of the fact that that I was in the home, and any opportunity he got, he was in my room or just performing sexual acts on me. So I learned to obviously give a blowjob, if I'm allowed to say that, sorry,
Yes, fine, absolutely. Yeah.
at the age of 3,
Yeah.
and that kind of haunted me up until my later life. And yeah, it wasn't easy. And this is why now I'm learning a lot more about PTSD and trauma. So I'm actually doing like my level 8 course in it, and because I want to specialize in it so that I can treat a lot of trauma and PTSD clients myself. And a big symptom of PTSD is flashbacks and memory recall. And the flashbacks that I got, it wasn't only just visual flashbacks, it was just the smell of him as well. So yeah, just that horrible stench. I was kind of re-experiencing that later on in my adult years.
Yeah. Like this was going on, your parents didn't have any clue, and when you
No.
eventually told them, did you tell them, and when did you tell them, and how did they react?
Yeah, it was difficult because at that age you're just so naive. And this Bill guy, we call it, his name's Bill, he was just filling my brain up with stuff along the lines of this is our little secret, and he normalized it as if like it was normal for these kind of things to happen. And I think for many years I just kept, I never told anybody because I didn't feel like it was an issue. It was only a few years later when I got sexually abused again, and this time I wasn't alone. My cousins were also getting sexually abused, and then we told my auntie, and then it came up then that this was happening with Bill as well. And yeah, so obviously it didn't go down well with the parents. And I think until this day they still have a lot of regret for obviously not being there for me. But they were working all the hours they could just to try and develop a good life for me and my brother, because it was just you put in the hours in, don't you, to get as much money. I mean, I think we're really blessed in this day and age now where we don't really need to work that hard, because we've got a lot given to us already. And these days we're quite tuned into working smarter instead, you know. But yeah, it was so different back then.
Yeah, yeah, I could imagine. I mean, you know, talking about these topics in our culture is extremely difficult. How did you find the courage to speak your truth?
It was my support system that I had around me. So my cousins and my auntie, you know, it's the fact that I wasn't alone in the end. It happened to a few of us. And I think just the fact that, you know, we were all there for each other. And my auntie, she was amazing. You know, she was actually British, my auntie was. And, you know, she was a lot more obviously against what was happening, more so than my parents, because we all know that in India in this day and age now, you know, paedophilia, it's still not really classed as being a crime. Like Modi, he basically said that unless the child is naked, then it's not classed as child abuse. You know, there was a big thing in the papers a couple of months ago, and you know, still like till this day, they just think it's normal. I mean, you know, there's a woman raped every 15 minutes in India. And yeah, and I just think so much needs to be done within the Asian culture.
Yeah, there is a lot of it. I mean, so many times I've seen in my own experience and in others' experiences where when you speak your truth about something, it's easier for them to brush it under the carpet.
Yeah,
And we're not
exactly.
allowed to talk about these things, and it ultimately goes down to that ego sort of state where we don't want any shame in the family.
Yeah, that's
Was
it.
it the
Yeah.
same case for you then?
Yeah, reputation, you know, they just wanted to just work hard, you know, they just wanted to get on with their life. They didn't want to be dealing with any of this that was happening in the background to their own kids. So I guess ignorance is bliss, and that's exactly what happened. But then, and also back then, they didn't understand about what consequences these interactions on the children would have in their later life. And it's only recently now as well that, you know, we're learning a lot more about trauma and PTSD. And I'm so glad, because so many people's mental health have been affected from what's happened to them when they were younger. And I'm so glad that now, you know, everybody is really tuning in. And this is why, you know, the self-help industry has boomed. You know, it's a multi-billion-pound industry. And you know, and this is why I feel like we're so blessed to be where we are in this day and age.
Yeah, and I think the new generation in Asian culture, I guess, coming in is more open and aware to these things than the older generation. And I feel like some of them are still stuck in their way of beliefs, and they don't, they don't really see mental health as in a mental health, really. If you have a mental health issues, they will brush it aside and think,
Yeah,
"Oh no, you're just having a bad day." But when you're not, and
yeah,
they don't,
exactly.
sometimes there's like, they don't understand the trauma that you're buried inside of you, and and even they're carrying the trauma. Sometimes other
Yeah,
people, when they're carrying that trauma, they see it in another person, they kind of suppress it even more and more and more. So because they don't want their truth to come out, as well as your truth.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because it'll bring up their own trauma, and it's just too much to deal with, which is why it's so easy to just compartmentalize all these negative occurrences during your life rather than actually deal with them. But you know what? It takes strength for somebody to actually deal with them. And you notice as well, just, you know, without being judgmental, I can see people now, you know, and again, a lot of this is due to my training that I've had in Reiki, and just, you know, my attunements, where I feel like I can really read energies of people. And I can see those who, you know, who are expressive about what's happened to them. They're a lot more freer, you know. You see that they're not carrying as much baggage, and they're just a lot more happier than those who have so many issues that they still haven't dealt with, and they're just so suppressed and so negative. And you know, you hear it when you talk to them, and they've just got so much that they need to get off their chest.
Yeah, so much, and it keeps
Mm,
playing out. The patterns keep repeating and repeating and repeating, and
yeah,
sometimes you have to be that black sheep in the family to sort of break it, right?
yeah,
You have
absolutely,
to do
yeah.
it. Someone has to heal the generational line, you know. And once you are aware of it, once you kind of wake up to it, it's usually you
Yeah,
who has to
absolutely, yeah.
heal it, right?
Be the change we want to see in the world.
Yes,
Yeah,
it just happens to be you and your family's like, yeah, we're counting on you.
exactly. And that's something that me and you, I guess, which is what we've obviously got in common is,
Yeah.
the sexuality side of it as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like in our culture, the even if you come out gay, you know, it's
Yeah,
very intense, especially with your parents. You're either I know there's been quite a lot of people who are forcefully married off, or I know there's quite a lot of people who kind of hide their sexuality the rest of their
yeah.
lives. And
Oh
um
goodness.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is hard,
Yeah.
and yeah. And I
Yeah.
guess, like I keep saying, you have to be the black sheep in the family and stand
You
up
have
and speak
to,
your
yeah.
truth, right? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's funny, yeah, because I see it with a lot of the gay couples, the Asian men who, again, I find that Asian men have got it more difficult than us Asian women because I feel that we've been brought up to just become these empowered beings. You see it, whereas a lot of the Asian men they haven't really developed that yet,
Mm.
and then yeah, they might be gay really, but they're marrying off with women and making babies, but yet having this secret gay life.
Yeah. Yeah,
Just
I think that's the case for many of us. Many of us, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I think there's quite a few brave ones who have spoken up, and there's charities forming everywhere in I think in Pakistan or probably India as well.
oh, brilliant. That's
And
good. Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, it is it is difficult. So I know in our culture it's difficult to express our feelings and emotion, and every time you do, you're told to suppress it
Mm,
and not look at it. How did you deal with that?
not very well, not at all. At first, I didn't even know how to communicate. If I'm honest, I was all action, so it was all just like just act and don't talk. Majority of my childhood life, I walked around like this,
Mm.
not even looking at anybody. And if somebody did talk to me, I'd get embarrassed, and then I'd blush. So communication was never ever one of my strong points. It was only when I really started to develop myself along my personal development journey, and I started meditating. I started going on retreats, and you know, again, that took many many years as well for me to even meditate because I hated being still with myself.
Mm.
But it was only through my personal development and really understanding myself was I able to start to communicate properly. And it's only a recent thing, if I'm honest.
Mm.
I still wasn't a great communicator, even in my relationships. Majority failed because I just couldn't express myself with them.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, yeah,
Communication is obviously key in every part of our life, but in our sort of in Asian culture, communication is non-existent at
yeah.
all. I don't know how people can stay married for 20 years and not
And not
communicate.
communicate. I know, exactly. Because even till this day, you see, don't you? Like,
Yeah.
parents, they're sat on different sofas on their phones.
Or
It's like,
watching, yeah, there's literally no communication. It's like a role that they're playing. Like,
a
I'm gonna do
role.
the dishes and that's it, and we're not even
Acting.
communicating. It is, yeah. It's crazy how but I guess it's not it's when you're a child, you wanna see your parents sort of communicate. You want a good upbringing, like even I'm researching like on this attachment styles and everything.
Yeah.
And one thing that we don't realize is how we bring up our kids. It's like this most important, because in relationships later on, that's how they're gonna be. So, so your care has to be consistent. So, you have to teach them how to communicate, how to be honest, how to be loyal, and how to express their feelings, because expressing our feelings is the most difficult thing to do. And if you're not able to do that, especially in our culture, if you're not able to do that, it's you kind of just keep on it keeps what I'm trying to say is the patterns keep repeating in your life.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's so true. And it's like, even when I was going to counseling with my partner, my husband, and the only thing he kept saying to us was, communicate, communicate. And I was like, what is it going on about communicate? I am communicating, but I wasn't. My ego, I had such a big ego, I realized. And I know a lot of it's down to the fact that my ego was protecting me from all of the damages, that had happened to me during my upbringing and during my adulthood. And it was kind of having to release that ego so that I could be vulnerable, but and by being vulnerable, you're able to then accept, whatever is going to be, if whatever the other person is saying that might hurt you, let them hurt you. But again, it takes a lot of strength to communicate effectively. And there's a lot of courses, communication skill courses, and I think if any of your listeners are struggling, then there's ways that they can actually learn how to communicate better.
Absolutely, totally agree. And awareness is the first step to everything. Becoming aware, researching on these things, and then working on yourself. It's okay. Yeah, you may have parents. It's not your fault how you were brought up. It's not your fault that you were told to suppress things, whether being gay or abuse or anything that along those lines. It's your job to create the best version of yourself, and you can change that. I'll just go straight into the question. So I'll ask you, so when did you start to communicate?
It's not recording.
Yeah, it's fine. It's all right. I'll edit it out. Don't worry. It is recording.
Oh, okay. It's not come up. Uh-oh.
Can you see it?
It's not. That's weird, isn't it? I can't see it. Can you see it?
Yeah, well,
Oh,
it is.
okay. Yeah. All right, cool. Yeah, I got it now.
Okay.
Right, excellent. So.
Okay. So when did you start communicating?
Yeah, so again, it was after quite a lot of therapy treatments that I had, and just understanding a bit more about what was stopping me from communicating. Why was my mouth not able to move and for me to express what I was feeling here? Because I just had so much hurt inside my heart. And finally, I started to express myself a lot more. And it wasn't even to my partners, it was more to my friends. And that enabled me to actually write my book just by communicating. And I even had a dictaphone, so I was just talking to my phone, but just expressing myself. And oh my God, it was such a relief, to be able to express everything, all the hurt that I was feeling inside, even if it was to my phone or to my friends. It's the fact that finally, I was talking about it. And I had a therapist at the time, Marie, who again I really respect her, because she helped me through so much during my life, and I talk about her in my book. And she really helped me. She did a lot of treatments on me, and we were able to talk a lot, and I was having like 2-hour sessions, 3-hour sessions with her, and that really helped. And then also I started to follow Tony Robbins. Again, I was introduced to him with a couple of my really good friends like Lisa and Jasmine, and I went to a lot of his events, and some of his techniques are just amazing. Again, I talk about them in my book because it really transformed my life. And one of my favorite techniques of his is it's called the Dickens process, and it's all about resetting your limiting beliefs. So it's about releasing any kind of beliefs that have been, holding you back. and to just release them so that you can live a life of abundance and live a life of, self-worth and, just the best life that you want to live. So, again, it took many, many years, but finally now, I feel like I'm owning it. I own my feelings, and I take responsibility. I've stopped blaming everybody for whatever happened to me. I'm so much more responsible for everything that happened to me. I've been able to forgive everybody who's hurt me. And I remember that I went through a time where, I had dark thoughts about these people who had ever hurt me, and I just wanted them dead. But now all I do is just think, bless, they had to go through that, that they needed to do that to me to make me who I am today. And I thank them for it. I actually thank them for it. And forgiveness as well. That's an amazing thing that you can do for anybody who's ever hurt you, to just forgive them and thank them.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. I mean, forgiveness, once you get to that part where, healing your trauma, and when you get to that state when you've actually healed past your trauma, you find the love and compassion for people who have hurt you. Now, it may be really difficult for a person to hear whether they've been abused or they've been abused, and they're finding it difficult to move on. I mean, what would you tell them? Like, how if someone was sat here in front of you, was going through the same thing as you,
Yeah.
being abused at a young age, and they cannot get over it, what
Yeah.
would you tell them?
The first thing I would recommend is therapy. First of all, so cognitive behavioral therapy has been indicated as being the number one treatment for any trauma and PTSD. And then obviously, alongside that, medication. But, I've never, ever been one to actually take medication. The doctor tried to prescribe citalopram to me, and I think I was on it for a few days and I just went off it. I was like, no, this really isn't me.
Yeah, exactly the same. I was the same. Yeah, I was the same. Yeah.
Oh goodness. I know. It's just an easy diagnosis, isn't it? Here you go, here's a medicine, here's
Yeah.
a tablet. Oh, a
To
tablet will
fix
not fix
everything.
it.
No, it will just suppress it. That's what we're trying to do. We don't
Yeah,
want to suppress it. We want to express.
you want to express. We want to do the opposite.
I know, it's just, I was on it as well. Obviously, I've been suffering from severe anxiety, depression. Well, I
Yeah.
used to before my spiritual awakening, and I was given antidepressant. Now, we're not saying that, if you are really severely depressed or severely have anxiety, then it will help you,
Yeah.
but on a longer run, it won't. So
Mm.
when they gave it to me, I was exactly like you. Couple of days of
Mm.
taking it, I went back to the doctor, said I feel even more numb
Yeah.
after than I was more cheerful than before
Oh
that.
my goodness. Yeah, I know.
At least I was able to laugh during the depression.
But then you're just like, oh, I have
I
no
know.
experience.
So
It's like
you're
when you're
just,
Botoxed out,
yeah, you're just there, sat on the sofa, and not even do
God.
anything. It was
Yeah.
quite scary, actually. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
So therapy is one of the things. And what other things could they do?
Yeah, because the only way really for that you're ever going to overcome any issues is through talking therapy. So obviously, alongside that comes a lot of other holistic therapy modalities, which your listeners can try. So there's emotional freedom therapy, which again I absolutely love, and that's why I actually become trained in it as well, because it benefited me so much. And EFT is about tapping all your acupuncture or acupressure points even, but it's without the needle. So you just kind of do like a tapping, and you do like different parts of your face and your body. And what that does is it actually releases all of the negative self-talk that you might have about a situation, and it replaces it with positive self-talk. Because I think a lot of us, we don't even realize how powerful, self-talk is.
Yeah.
you know, and when you're like talking to your friends or your family and it's just negative, and it's only going to make you feel worse. this is why, like, I never watch the news. I don't listen to the radio, apart from if it's, positive podcasts, of course, like yourself, Madiha. And, because I just don't need that negativity in my life, because it's only going to make me feel worse. And I want uplifting news. I want uplifting words around me. So, EFT really enhances that, as well as affirmations. I mean, what I do on my iPhone is I set reminders every 3 hours, just positive self-talk. Okay, so for example, I'll have coming up at 9 a.m, I am enough. At 12 p.m, it'll come up, I can conquer anything, and it's just like every few hours, just like, and when you see it on your phone, again, it's instilling that positivity inside your body. So it's just little techniques that you can do, to really instill love and positivity inside of you, because you want to try and get away from any, the people who may bring you down, and you want to fulfill your life with just abundance. And other therapy modalities include like Reiki. So Reiki is amazing, as you know, because it's all about balancing your chakras and unblocking any blockages that you might have in the 7 regions of your body. And again, you'll notice with a lot of trauma and PTSD sufferers, there's a lot of blockages, because I remember nearly all of my chakras were blocked, and I had to undergo a series of Reiki sessions to unblock them. And again, because I benefited from that so much, and my intuition developed where I was able to pick up so much from other people, and it really helped me to distance myself from those people who didn't have good intentions from me, because I really struggled with that. Again, a lot of this was down to the trauma and PTSD that I was suffering, where I just didn't feel like I was worthy of anybody good coming into my life. And and Reiki really helped me to get rid of these people, and to never ever allow any negative people to come into my life ever again. And it really did transform me on that level. So other techniques include hypnosis, like hypnotherapy. And, don't get me wrong, a lot of these procedures, if you go to a therapist, you'll have to pay, but you can do a lot at home, like hypnotherapy. There's a lot of videos on YouTube, that people can just play, at night, just before you go to bed, just listen to the, amazing words and fall asleep to it. So there's just so much that people could do. But I think, like, when you're in that situation of trauma and PTSD, you just feel like there's nothing that could ever help you. And I think it's up to myself and yourself, Madiha, to tell everybody that, there is a way out. You just have to believe it.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. So I know we just talked about PTSD, and you suffer from PTSD for a long time. Can you tell us about that? What were your symptoms?
Yeah, sure. So kind of directly after all of the abuse, I was really trying to block the hurt out by obviously my addiction to drugs. So for me, that was a key sign that something wasn't right. And the fact that I was using the drugs to even try to end my life, I was just overdosing and mixing them with alcohol, and just it was a real concern with a lot of my friends around me. And this was during my time at university, and there was a few instances where I was standing, went to a house party, and it was a flat, and I was standing, it was like a 30s, I was on like 30th story, and I was just stood on the balcony. I really wanted to jump, and the way that, because I was so high on drugs, I was saying, I just want to go fly away. I just want to fly away, like a bird. And again, when I went on holiday in Gran Canaria, I even climbed over the balcony to try and jump, again thinking that I was going to jump into the pool, but the pool was all the way down there. So the only place I was going was on the concrete beneath me. So it really shook a lot of my friends up, and and I found out with my friends, because they all knew that I was damaged at the time. It's like they wanted to keep away from me, because I was obviously not a good influence to be around. And so that happened, and then just later on, I was always using traveling as like my kind of escape. in a way, it turned out to be a good escape, because I've ended up traveling around the world 2 times, just long major backpacking trips where, I really had an amazing time traveling. And again, when I came back, I'd go straight back into the kind of depression cycle of meeting really bad men who were really bad for me, and a lot of them just abused me. I ended up with like a guy who was just addicted to smoking weed, and then after that there was an alcoholic guy, and after that there was this narcissist. The narcissist abused me financially, where he took a lot of my money. And then after that, there was another psychopath, sociopath, whatever you want to call him, and he had relationships with 6 other women, and so they all abused me differently, and I just kept ended up with these awful people. It was like they were sent to me again to just keep continually trying to teach me a lesson. I just wasn't grasping what this lesson was. And I was just like asking God, what is this lesson that you want me to learn? I'm just not understanding it. Why am I ending up in these horrible relationships where I want to end my life continuously? So a lot of this is, is signs of deep, complex PTSD, where you're not able to get out of the cycle that you're in. And you're just questioning, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? And it's just awful. And then, you're carrying all the baggage from the previous relationship into another relationship. And and it's just amazing when I think now back the amount of hurt that I went through. I don't wish it upon anybody. Just like the dark days of, just kind of sitting in my room and just absolutely wailing, crying, just wanting somebody or something to save me. And it's funny because obviously I write about this in my book, and I've had some feedback from a lot of Indians in India who read my book. They're like, where were her parents? Why didn't she just go to her parents? Well, I resented my parents, didn't I, for not being there when I was younger. So, and I just didn't feel that they could help me because they didn't help me. So I just felt like I was all on my own, and
Yeah, I mean, it's really difficult because when you go through abuse and that sort of trauma, not just once, but twice at a young age, it will play out in your relationships. And I guess you were, those of you who believe in law of attraction, is like if you don't deal with your own stuff, then you're going to be honing in these kind of these kind of relationships. And I guess like you said, there was a lesson in it. Do you know now what was the lesson in those patterns that kept playing out?
Absolutely. Yeah, the lesson was to not enter into any relationship and to try and try and sort my issues out on my own. Why was I relying on these horrible men to sort me out? They didn't have the answers. They would just saw vulnerability written on my forehead and took full advantage of me, in whatever shape or form that they could. A lot of them tried to they were trying to distance me from my family and friends, saying, oh, your friends aren't there for you, your family are not there for you. And it's interesting because, a lot of these men, they had like similar traits where they were just trying to control me and to really isolate me so that I'd be their little prodigy. And, but again, this is where my belief in God came because, something there was something in me which enabled me to finally get away from those relationships. It was just like this instant reaction where I just went, this isn't good for me, I'm out, and that was it. And I stuck to that, I stuck to that. And it was the last sociopath where it happened to. And by that time I had anger in me, I had so much like anger and I just wanted to get them all back. So I started a court case against my ex who financially abused me. Until this day, he's paying me back. Thank God, I won. For me, that was my first sign of victory. Finally, I had courage in me and I had the strength in me to fight from these demons who had come into my life. So, and I think that was the starting of my journey to victory. Hence my
Yeah.
book being named Victim to Victor, because I was a victim
It's
for majority of
I
my
love that
life.
name. It's amazing. It's amazing. I love it. I guess like with these patterns is like ultimately it goes back to yourself. And if, so many people in our lives, whether you go through a trauma or not, want to fill that void. They don't want to feel their feelings and emotion. They don't want to feel that trauma. They don't want to heal that trauma. So they end up getting into relationships that's no good for them. And these relationships, like you said, are going to keep coming into your life to teach you what you need to know in order for you to grow. And like you said
Absolutely.
earlier as well, like, whatever happened to you in the past has made you into the person that you are now. And think of how many women or even men that you are going to help with the book that you wrote. There is so many
Yeah.
people in the same situation as you. And you know what, it's like, listening to your story is just, I'm so inspired by it, because it's just incredible journey that you've been on, and you're still going. You had abusive childhood, you've been through relationships that were very abusive as well, and obviously your mental health took a hit. And then I could, it's just, I have nothing but I can't even say the word. Oh my God.
Admiration.
Yes, there you go.
Oh,
Get Anu
thank
to say,
you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, it's incredible. So I was just gonna ask you, what were the point that sort of led you on a path of transformation? You going through all of these, and what was the like? No, I'm not having any of this.
Yeah, it was, yeah, that was actually after my last relationship, when I was like, no more. My hair was falling out, I had bald patches from the PTSD, because it actually happened a few months after the breakup, because that just caused me so much stress, just thinking about it, not being able to sleep. We just have that cortisol and adrenaline in your system, and it just doesn't allow you to sleep. And I got really skinny as well. So, I lost a lot of weight as well from all the stress. That's when it was obviously, it was an instant decision that I made, but then it took time for me to actually implement it. And again, this is where I had a lot of support around me through the Tony Robbins programs, through my therapist, Marie. And by that point, I'd had a lot of amazing friends which I'd made along my journey, who had come into my life. And just by having that support network around me, it transformed me. And this is why I say now, till this day, that if anybody is suffering from depression or anxiety, please do not underestimate the value of a support network, because it's just by having a community around you who understands you, who understands where you're coming from, who are there for you. That's the thing that you are going to need to come out of the situation that you're currently in.
Absolutely. I totally agree. So, what are the tips that you can give to our listeners so they can maintain a healthy balance in their life?
Wow, there's a lot actually. I mean, I don't know if anybody meditates who's listening, but just I think meditation as well. People think that they have to sit there for 1 hour, with total silence, which is not the case. Meditation, you can just meditate for 2 minutes to 5 minutes every day, and you will feel the benefits. And it doesn't need to be silent. Just stick on, again, YouTube, or there's a lot of meditation podcasts that you can stick on, and it's guided meditation, because a lot of people, especially me, I've got that monkey mind where I've just got so much going on in my mind, and sometimes silence can be quite distracting in itself. So I quite enjoy having words, like just a guy or a girl just talking through visualization of being somewhere like your background at the moment, being on a beach where you can feel the waves. And it's just so refreshing for your mind to just be somewhere else. And then with that comes a lot of visualization techniques, because there's like you mentioned about law of attraction, and people say, well, how can I ever overcome my difficulties that I'm in at the moment? I'm with an abusive partner, or like my parents, they're being abusive. Well, okay, so the way that you can start now is to just visualize having a much more stable and loving life, having a stable partner in your life, visualizing happy parents. Just by actually visualizing, it's the power of that which the universe brings to you eventually. Yeah, it might not be instant, but you need to believe in it. You need to believe that you can achieve whatever you want to, whether that's in your personal life, your career, in your education, or professional life. Just believe it and you will achieve it. Again, that's a Tony Robbins saying. I don't want to take the credit for that.
I love Tony Robbins. Yeah, absolutely.
And these are just like, just daily, they just take a few minutes a day. I used to have this ritual every morning. This was when I was on my serious personal development journey. And I used to have this ritual every morning where I would journal. I'd write down any emotions, anything I wanted to achieve in my life, and how I was feeling. So I'd journal, and then I'd do a bit of yoga, just again 10 minutes of yoga, and then I'd do a bit of exercise, whether I'd go on my rebounder, do some jumping, and then just go on my cross trainer, or just even go for a walk, and then I'd have a cold shower. Cold showers. Oh my goodness.
You're the third person this week mentioned cold showers. Now I feel like universe wants to send me a sign here.
A cold shower.
Have a Wim Hof cold shower.
Yeah. It is hard. It is difficult. Trust me. It's it's not easy. And just start off warm, and then just kind of, you don't have to do it instantly, but just keep getting colder every time you're in. And summer's approaching. It's the perfect time to practice this. Oh my God. But if you try doing it in the winter, it is a killer.
You need to have your heating on full blast, and still when you go to have a shower, it's still really cold.
Oh my God. But it's the mental and the physical benefits of having a cold shower. It is tremendous. I mean, again, I mentioned about Tony Robbins, but he does cryotherapy. So it's all about, like, he actually has this device in his back garden, and he jumps in it, and it's just like, it's not even freezing, it is like below freezing conditions. But it's just your body, it gets rid of just toxins, and your lymph glands get like detoxed, and it reduces inflammation. And there's a big thing about acid as well, the fact that our bodies were just so acid, and we need to alkalize ourselves more. And so I've got this alkalizing greens powder that I take daily, because it's got like 21 phytonutrients in it. And again, even that, just by alkalizing my system, it's all linked to your mental health, and it's just by doing just like little things like this every day, it's going to really help you improve your quality of life.
And also I guess these are the things that you do externally. So what I always tell everyone is what I'm going to be teaching and have been teaching is has to be 50% external and 50% internal, as well as like going in and looking at yourself and sitting with your feelings and emotions, like we talked about before. Expressing our feelings and emotion is such an important thing to do. And like you said, with journaling like you said, with journaling, and also writing a book, and you express your feelings as writing a book, and sometimes that's how people can express their feelings.
Absolutely. Writing it, a lot of people, I think especially now, I know that with technology just taking over people's lives, writing, especially handwriting, it's become like a bit of a thing of the past. Now we're just used to typing. I know I started off actually scribing my book by talking through my dictaphone, because it was helping my communication skills. So there's different ways that you can express yourself.
And when I was set and was like looking at what I was writing the other day, And my writing is like, I can't even recognize my writing. You're
I
so
know.
right about being out on our phones and laptops. We don't even know how to write
Yeah.
anymore.
Honestly, yeah. I remember because we used to always look at doctors' writing and think, oh God, she
Yeah.
writes like a doctor. I think we all write like a doctor now.
Mine is like still as an inner child, really. I think because I was physically sort of abused by a teacher when I was younger. So every time she would get me in front of the class and she would ask me to read something, and if I made a mistake, she would hit me, and then she would come over and um, uh, check what I was writing, and if my writing was really bad, she would still hit me with rulers, and she was quite abusive. So I guess my inner child is still at the age of 6, and when I write like a child. That's what I do. So I think it's kind of that trauma. Maybe I need to work on that trauma. It's still stuck there. Yeah, it's
Absolutely,
quite
yeah.
interesting. It's interesting how your inner child. You need to bring your inner child out and heal your inner child. It's really really
Yeah,
important.
it is. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So you talked about your book Victim to Victor. So what made you want to share your story, and what can people expect from the book?
Yeah, well, at first my book started off being so negative. Oh my goodness, it was literally just all of the crap that had happened to me. And in a way, for me, it was a way to just kind of try and get back at these people who had hurt me. And that's how it started off. But then as I'd got through, about the 80 pages or so of writing, I realized that, there's no way I wanted my book to just focus on the negatives. So that's when and this is why, it took me quite a few years to actually grasp exactly what I wanted to, share with the world. And then I realized that no, I want to link this to be more reflective, and to link it to how I overcame each of these experiences and what I learned along the way. So I've used a lot of my skills, my scientific background, and all of the content that I learned throughout all of the courses that I've been on, and all my training in yoga and Reiki, hypnotherapy, EFT, and I've just linked it all to trauma and PTSD. So really, a lot of people read it and they say, wow, it's like 3 books in one, because there's just so much in there. But I wanted to be a valuable book for trauma and PTSD survivors, especially those who had suffered from sexual abuse. And it is just that, it's not only my personal memoir, it's also a self-help guide, and it's also a do-it-yourself book, where people can actually get techniques from it and apply it to themselves.
Yeah, amazing. So where can people find this book? Is it on Amazon?
Yeah, number one.
Amazing.
Amazon. No, it's not number one, no.
Oh,
But
oh.
yeah, like in terms, but in terms of all my sales at the moment from Amazon, it's on Audible as well.
Yeah.
So, and again, everyone loves to listen to books these days, and I've also got my website where they can buy it from as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So I know it's we're coming to an end now, and it's been your story it's just incredible, the transformation that you've been through and your story, and I really really hope that it gives people hope. But before we go, I want to ask you rapid fire questions. It's something I ask everyone. Yeah. So I grill every single person. And it's your turn now.
Thank you. Can't wait.
All
Go
right,
for
cool.
it.
All right, cool. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What is your definition of God?
Wow. God is within me. I believe that God is within each of us.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
What do you think happens when you die?
Oh, that's a very philosophical question. I believe in the physical form. So I believe that our spirit is within us, but our spirit lives forever. Yeah. But now we're in a physical form. And when our physical form has had enough, or when it's time for the physical form to go, then our spirit remains.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
How do you define religion and spirituality?
Wow. Okay. Religion, I feel, is just man-made.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm,
Whereas
mhm,
spirituality is in each and every one of us. You know,
mm,
we have to train our spiritualism to come alive, and we have to respect each other. We have to respect ourselves. We have to obviously become more self-aware. And this is why, you know, I don't know if you know about the 3D, 5D realms,
yeah.
where
Um,
yeah,
mm,
and it's obviously, you know, we live in a very mixed realm culture at the moment, where there's a lot of 3D people, a lot of 5D people, and
mm.
I just feel that eventually there's going to be more 5D than 3D people,
Yeah,
and
yeah, because our
yeah,
planet is moving to it's or almost at 5D now, isn't it? So it's just a case of people
yeah,
consciousness switching over or not.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
This is why we
religion's going
say,
to be a thing of the past.
yeah.
It just causes war, doesn't it? It's
This
just
yeah, this is why we're going through a bit of a chaos right now because we're switching over.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Ex- yeah. So what's the lesson that took you the longest to learn?
It was just how to love myself. Oh my goodness, what was
Mm,
love? You know, I had no idea.
mm.
Everyone was like, self-love. What is love? Oh wow, you know, but love is huge, you know, love is everything. Love is appreciating ourselves. Love is, you know, just, you know, our self-worth, our self-esteem. Is everything to do with how we see ourselves, because that's how other people are going to see us, you know. And unless we see ourselves, unless we appreciate ourselves fully, how can anybody else, you know?
Mm,
And I
mm,
think that this is where a lot of people struggle as well, you know, as we're
mm,
getting older. It's a lot of insecurity. I mean, I was hugely insecure,
mm,
and
mm.
you know, and just to get to that place of security, you know, where you own it. You're
Yes.
responsible,
Yes, yeah, I
you
could
know.
totally relate with that. Totally relate. Very,
Yeah.
everything just flows easily to you. You don't even go forcefully out for anything. It just
Mm.
comes to you naturally, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
The
You feel
law of
content.
abundance.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Um, I am in present moment when.
Now I'm in present moment always. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
never used to be. I used to always be living in the past. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. And
Past or
worrying about the
future.
future.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what awful
Absolutely.
thing.
Yeah.
So it's so consuming, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
totally agree. Um, do you believe there is an end to healing?
Never, no.
Mm,
I think that we're healing continuously. You know, it's a
yeah.
beautiful world, the healing world. You know, it's the only world that we should be living in,
Mm,
not the toxic world or the
mm,
damaged world. You
mm,
know, we should be on a journey of healing until we
mm,
die, until our
mm,
physical form
yeah. Yeah.
dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, so the world needs more of what?
More love,
Mm,
always.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
more
Totally
love.
agree. Just before we wrap up, I want to ask you one important question. This is for our listeners. What is that one message that you would like to share with someone who's going through adversity, who's going through a dark night of the soul, spiritual awakening, and they're lost in life or even abuse?
Mm.
What would you tell them?
Well, I tell them exactly what nobody told me, was to not suffer in silence. It's
Mm,
to share what's happening to you with somebody, whether that's your friend, whether that's your partner, whether that's your parents, or just call a therapist, call a support line. Like,
mm,
you know, the crisis centers that we have, there's a lot of charities out there.
mm,
People are there to help you, you know. I'm currently working at a charity, Claire Walker Consultancy. They're actually a domestic violence charity. So again, you know, for domestic abuse, which is on the rise now, especially since the COVID lockdown, you know,
mm.
there's a lot more domestic violence out there, and seek help.
Absolutely. I
Mm.
totally agree. Um, so how can people contact you?
Oh, so through my website, it's just victimtovictor.net. So it's with the number 2 .net. And and just you can email me, anu@victimtovictor.net or .com
Okay.
even. Sorry.
Thank you so much, Anu, for coming on this podcast. It was absolute honor interviewing you, and your story, like I said before, it has been inspirational, and I'm sure it's going to help many of our listeners. Is there anything else that you would like to say?
Wow, just thank you so much for having me on the show. It's been such a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been fun. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to Soul Awakenings with Madiha Sosan podcast. I would love to know what your biggest takeaway from this conversation has been. Share your thoughts on my Facebook and Instagram, Madiha Sosan. You can also check out my website, madihasosan.com. If you would like to watch this episode, then head over to my YouTube channel, Mads Corner, MADZ Corner. If you enjoyed this episode, then please do rate and share this with your family and friends. Thank you once again, and I will see you on the next episode.